To our meeting November 14th, 2024. We are in person as well as virtually today at the Washington State Liquor and Cannabis Board at 9:30 a.m. Today's meeting will be recorded. To better manage our meeting, if you wish to provide public comment, please raise your hand to be recognized. Once recognized, please state your name. Written comments on today's agenda item should have been received by email on our website by close of business yesterday, November 13th. The chat feature has been turned off. If you have technical difficulties, please email us at askus@wsgc.law.gov. So this morning we have our new commissioner, Michael Charles, with us. He started with the commission on October 1st, 2024. Washington State Governor Jay Inslee appointed Michael to the Washington State Gambling Commission as the agency's 5th commissioner, and today is his first commission meetings. Welcome, Michael. Michael is a seasoned public affairs professional with over 15 years of experience in addressing complex issues through strategic communications and community engagement. As the founder of a successful public affairs firm, he has worked with a diverse range of clients, including candidates for public office, businesses, nonprofit organizations, and community groups to develop tailored strategies that drive impactful results. Thank you for joining us, Michael. Look forward to working with you. Now we are going to go ahead and call the roll. Vice Chair Sizemore.
Here.
Commissioner Lawson.
Here.
Commissioner Ibsen.
Here.
Commissioner Charles. We lose him?
He's there. I just wasn't able to verify that he had a working mic and camera.
Oh, so we're not sure if he's. Mr. Charles, are you able to unmute or? Senator Conway. Oh, I think you're muted, Senator.
You're
Right?
present. You're
No,
present
sorry.
there.
Yes, good morning. Senator Holy.
I'm here.
Great, thank you. Representative Kloba. All right, Representative Robertson. And not here. All right. So this morning we are going to start with the proposed Tribal Gaming Compact Amendment hearing for the Stillaguamish Tribe of Indians. The Honorable Eric White, the chairman of the Stillaguamish Tribe of Indians, is here with us. Tina Griffin, the executive director, and Julie Lease, our tribal liaison. I don't know who wants to start that. Who's reading?
Good morning, commissioners, ex officios, and welcome to the tribe, the Stillaguamish Tribe, and the Honorable Eric White. So we can go to the next slide, please. So in 1988, the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act was enacted, which sets out the framework in which tribes in the state can negotiate Class 3 gaming on tribal lands as permitted by the state and when conducted in conformance with the Tribal State Compact. Tribal gaming provides tribal governments with the funds necessary to build and sustain governmental infrastructure. IGRA outlines the parameters as to what the tribe and the state can negotiate into gaming compacts. Next slide, please. In April of 2024, the Stillaguamish Tribe and the state came before you with a proposed compact amendment to authorize electronic table games. As part of the process of the amendment was approved after the amendment was approved by the commission and sent to the governor for review and approval. And then the governor and the tribal chair signed, but part of the approval process then rests with the Department of Interior's Office of Indian Gaming. In July of 2024, the Office of Indian Gaming issued a disapproval letter for the proposed amendment. Next slide, please. So the disapproval letter is published and available on the Office of Indian Gaming's website. In short, they found that two sections of the proposed amendment were not compliant with the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act's newly enacted regulation. Next slide, please. The sections that were found to be non-compliant had to do with the inclusion of the electronic table games in the definition of net win as used throughout the compact, and the increased contribution of 0.06% to be made by the tribe to charitable, nonprofit, and/or governmental organizations to provide awareness, prevention, education, outreach, treatment, and recovery support on problem gambling. We've come to understand from Department of Interior that increases in the required payments by tribes must show meaningful concessions to the tribe. The Department of Interior determined that merely authorizing ETGs is not a meaningful concession. Next slide, please. Thank you. The tribe and the state further negotiated the proposed amendment that is before you today that addresses the section cited by the Office of Indian Gaming's July 2024 letter. So the proposed amendment is before you today in this process. Today, the amendment will have a hearing, obviously, what we're participating in now. It will be available for public comment and then a vote on as to whether to forward to the governor for review and approval or to return with instructions back for further negotiation. Next slide, please. So the proposed amendment authorizes the following, which are unchanged from the previously approved amendment by the commission. Remember, it was disapproved by Department of Interior, but these items remain the same from the last time that you saw the amendment. Authorization of electronic table games that do not allow play against the machine. The electronic table games would be played in a manner consistent with traditional table games. It would allow for 9 ETG stations for every 1 traditional game. The ETG wager limits would be at $500. Play on the ETGs would be through an electronic wagering system, and both the tribal gaming agency and the state gaming agency would work together to conduct field testing while the ETGs were initiated for play. Next slide, please. So these are a summary of the changes to the proposed amendment since you last saw it. Removal of the 0.06% increase in the problem and responsible gaming funding, acknowledgement of the tribe's gaming facility website, which provides resource information on problem and responsible gaming, as well as an online application to start the self-barring process. It adds the responsible gaming information to be placed at cashier stations, entrances and exits, kiosks, and at ETG stations. It adds the responsible gaming information to be included in gaming promotional and marketing materials. And these last 2 items are part of this amendment because just prior to us starting further negotiations, the tribe did ask to negotiate smoking cessation. And so we included that negotiation as part of this. So you have the removal of smoking cessation provisions as outlined in Appendix X2, and then the addition that air quality is an important public safety and health feature of the International Building Code, which the gaming facility complies with. So that is all I have in this portion of the presentation. I would like to thank Chairman White and his staff for the good working relationship to reach this agreement that's before the commissioners and ex officios today. And I'll pause if you have any questions for me. If not, we can turn it over to the Honorable Eric White to share about the Stillaguamish Tribe. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Executive Director at this time from any commissioners or ex officios?
I have I'm not sure where I want to do this, but this is Senator Conway like to make a comment here.
is it a question for the director, or would it be better in the comments after both presentations, I guess?
It may be better in the comments. If there's a comment session, I'll hold it till then. Thank you.
All right, great, thank you. All right, the Honorable Eric White in.
Good morning. This is Chris Bozer. Honorable Chairman White is in one of our government board sessions that are held on Thursdays, so there's a bit of a scheduling conflict. So I'm Chris Bozer, and I'm the chairman of the Gaming Commission. So I'll just go through Eric's slides. So thank everyone for the time. So yeah, we're the Stillaguamish Tribe of Indians. Next slide. The Stillaguabs translates into Stillaguamish and refers to the people of the river. We are signers of the Point Elliott Treaty in 1855. Our custom areas had been and still are Camino Island, the mouth of the mainstream of the Stillaguamish River, as well as the north and south forks of the Stillaguamish River. In October, or on October 27th, 1976, the tribe did receive federal recognition. In 2014, the tribe was granted reservation status, where the casino currently resides, and our administration building where we're currently at. Next slide. This is a map of some of our locations, which include our administration building, our health clinic, our healing center, tribal community center, natural resource center, River Rock Tobacco and Fuel stations, Angels of the Wind Casino, our newer addition, which would be the Angels of the Winds RV Resort, our 210 Cannabis, and our Stillaguamish Tribal Behavioral Health Programs. Next slide. Our tribal government was created in 1953 via the tribe's constitution. It's made up of 6 elected board members, a chairman, a vice chairwoman, a secretary, treasurer, and 2 non-officer members. We, as a tribe, kind of seek guidance through our elected members, and they provide us guidance. Next page. This is a picture of our tribal administration building, which is on the reservation land. Inside the administration building, we have many departments: our planning department, transportation department. All of our admin departments reside in this building. Next slide. We also have a family resource department, cultural resource department, tribal enrollment department, as well as a police department. Next slide. This is part of our tribal administration. What you see here is a few photos of a more recent development from the housing department and the tribe at large. It has inside the development a canoe carving shed, a holistic healing center. There's an elders campus of 10 elders homes. There's a single family residences, and there's a group playground park for the community. Next slide. In that development, we also opened up a tribal health clinic, which you see a picture of there. And this is open to tribal members and their families, as well as other Native enrolled members and tribal employees. It also houses a massage therapy clinic. Next slide, please. This is our Quilt Healing Center. And this is on the other side of the river. And it assists community members to improve functionality and evaluate our alleviate the qualities of life for all. It has in there a substance use disorder treatment, mental health treatment. We currently see approximately 750 patients. Well, I guess that was as of 2013. It also has an island crossing counseling services, which is some more mental health services and lifestyle and sobriety with health. It serves tribal members, enrolled Native tribal members, as well as just Washington State community members at large. Next slide, please. This is a picture of our community center, which is located up at that housing development. We have our tribal daycare here. We have an arm of our cultural department here, which focuses a lot on the cultural practices. We have our youth services here, which does higher education, tutoring, events regularly throughout the week. We also host a kitchen inside this community center building, which helps out the departments and community members. Next slide, please. This is a picture of our natural resources department building. The department was created in 1974 due to the Bolt decision and has been one of the biggest departments in the tribe, and one of our major focuses for the tribe is taking care of our watershed and doing rehabilitation projects and just trying to be stewards of our area. Next slide. This is a couple of pictures from the grand opening of a project on 236, which was a safety improvement project. This was done in partnership with the Snohomish County. It's a county road, but the tribe funded the project and saw the project from design through construction until the end of the construction process. The county maintains the road with the assistance of the tribe. Just a good example of the support that we have worked with our local governments. Next slide. River Rock Tobacco and Fuel. We have two locations. One off Smoky Point Boulevard and what we call Island Crossing, and then one right off 236 here, close to our admin building off of I-5. Next slide. And the reason why we're all here, the Angels of the Wind Casino. We have, other than gambling, we have 8 food venues. We have the RV resort, which is an arm of the Angels of the Wind Casino Resort. There's a hotel with 125 rooms. We have Strikers Bowling, some Keno, River Runs Event Center, which we host concerts and fundraisers for the community and other communities. And we have All Things Sports, which is a sports event. We have approximately 767 employees that are community members and tribal members as of March 2024. Next slide. This is just an example of some of the community impact support that we give to nonprofits in the area. This one's from last year. We gave out a total of over $1.5 million. It's about that season right now, so we're gearing up to make some additional donation plans and and, you know, present those donations to those nonprofits. Next slide. Oh, I guess, sorry, can you stay there? Can you go back to the other slide? I did want to add in there, the bottom, in addition to those contributions, we do support the local North County Fire Authority, as you can see, and we do that year after year. Stillaguamish County Sheriffs, we always provide some additional support to. Public Works, we always supply some additional support to. The Arlington Police Department, we also supply some additional support to, as well as the Washington State Patrol. So those are just some examples of funds that proceeds that we get at the casino that we help support other jurisdictions with. Next slide, please. So I think this that probably concludes my slides here. Thank you all.
All right, thank you very much for that. I think I saw maybe another ex officio come back in, and Commissioner Charles may have left and come back in. So I'm going to do another roll call real quick before we continue on, just to make sure we have everyone. So Vice Chair Sizemore.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Lawson.
Here.
Commissioner Ibsen.
Here.
Commissioner Charles.
Here.
All right, you made it. Thank you. Senator Conway.
Here.
Senator Holy.
Here.
Representative Kloba.
Here.
Morning, Representative Robertson. All right, great. So we still have our quorum. So we will move on now to public comment regarding the proposed tribal gaming compact that we just heard. Any public comment?
So Chair, if I may,
Yes.
Julie Lease, Tribal Liaison for the Gambling Commission. One of the options for the public to provide comments is an email address that's called Compact Comments. I am looking at that inbox right now. We have received no comments through that email.
Great, thank you. I don't see anybody else, so we'll go ahead to Senator Conway.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you for the great presentation. The casino that you run there is a great casino. Great. Yeah, I like the diversity of things that you offer the consumer there. And my comment here today is not relative to the tribe at all. I'm absolutely, it will support the compact change. I do want to express my concern about problem gambling here. We did a general prevalence study on problem gambling in the state of Washington, and we discovered that we're underfunding problem gambling in this state by at least 50%, which means other states are doing a much better job than Washington in addressing the problem gambling issue. So the state has taken steps to increase its contribution through its gambling activities, moving it up to the 6%. And all I can say here is that if we're not going to be able to use the compact process for addressing the problem gambling issue, then what is the solution? And I appeal to the Gambling Commission here to take seriously this prevalence study. The problem gambling study was mostly a project of the Gambling Commission. So if we're not going to be able to address this underfunding of problem gambling in our state, what is the solution? And so I've appealed to the director and my colleagues on the Gambling Commission that we need to start addressing this issue, because this was the real outcome of the problem gambling task force. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Sizemore.
Thank you, Chair Levy. This has been a really difficult issue, and not because of the environment of negotiations between the tribe and our agency. I think both our agency and the tribe have worked very diligently to come to solutions to provide this new activity for the tribe. And I think that there's been, a lot of diligence on both sides to try to accomplish this where we are today. The unfortunate aspect is that due to reinterpretation, federal regulation changes, the framework for essentially the impacts of tribal casinos appears to be something that short of exclusivity that we at the agency and with our partner tribes can no longer make agreements on additional resources to go towards problem gambling, community impacts, charitable, or smoking cessation. And with that, I mean, it really feels like while we've we and the Stillaguamish tribe have been able to come to an agreement here, it feels very treacherous for the future as far as how we can kind of maintain what some tribes within the state have been working under these agreements for multiple decades. And have been in agreement on providing these resources back to the community that are derived from gambling and kind of offset some of the impacts. So I'm going to be supporting this today, but it does come with a lot of trepidation. And I think somewhat ironically, with outgoing Commissioner Julia Patterson, who spent 10 years doing a tremendous amount of work in the problem gambling area, to have her, be termed out of the commission this past June, and then the essentially the whole foundation of how we work together in generating resources for problem gambling is being undermined. So I mean, it is a little ironic to me that this activity that that is being contemplated, electronic table games, through various studies, is probably an activity that has a higher potential for people to develop problem or irresponsible gaming due to the pace of play, the lack of a physical dealer. So just as we're contemplating this activity that potentially has a greater potential for future problem gambling, we and the tribe are, prohibited, I guess, from throwing a few more dollars at the problem. And I know that the tribe far exceeds what their minimum requirements by compact are. The amount of work in the community for behavioral health and for problem responsible gaming, I know that the tribe continues to exceed what those minimums are. But I going forward, I mean, I think we as the Gambling Commission have a real responsibility at evaluating these compacts. And I think I absolutely concur with Senator Conway's comments that we need to find a pathway to ensure that, we at the state keep doing our responsibilities towards the resources to attack these issues and to be able to mutually agree to those things with the tribe. And it doesn't appear that we're going to be able to do it through IGRA. So I look forward to, just more communication, I don't know if there's a single. I'm hoping that we can, figure out this bigger, long-term issue. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Vice Chair Sizemore. Do we have any additional comment from any of the commissioners or ex officios? Representative Kloba.
Yes, thank you so much. I won't belabor the point, but I'm confident that the really good work that Stillaguamish Tribe has done in the past with regard to problem gambling and behavioral health more broadly, we will be able to continue to find some pathway forward to make sure that this critical piece of the whole web of the gambling industry can be addressed. And I just wanted to be on record that I do concur with the Senator and Commissioner Sizemore. And I'm feeling positive that we can go forward and find something, some way to tackle this problem. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Anything further from any commissioners? Officio? Oh, Commissioner Lawson?
Yeah, thank you. I just want to note for my colleagues on the commission, as well as the ex officios here, that if I remember correctly, the outcome of the Washington State problem gambling study that was done was that the state was actually underfunding problem gambling in the state of Washington. And it didn't make a finding as to tribal funding on problem gambling. So when we make statements that problem gambling was underfunded in the state, it was that the problem gambling study found that the state of Washington underfunded problem gambling. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Does anyone have a motion? I don't know if anyone's trying to speak, but we cannot hear you.
I will be willing to make the motion. I just am working off of one screen rather than what I'm used to. So I'm looking for the appropriate motion.
I'll second it.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Vice Chair Sizemore. We'll wait till you have your motion in front of you.
All right, are you ready?
Yes, we're ready.
I move we forward the proposed compact amendment for the Stillaguamish Tribe of Indians to the governor for review and final execution.
Second. Senator
Great.
Conlon.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. I will go ahead and have the executive director call a roll vote for us, please.
Commissioner Sizemore,
Aye.
Commissioner Lawson,
Aye.
Commissioner Ibsen,
Aye.
Commissioner Charles,
Aye.
Chair Levy,
Aye.
Senator Holy,
Aye.
Senator Conway,
Aye.
Representative Kloba,
Aye.
And Representative Robertson, if you're here. That 8 ayes.
All right, we have a majority. The motion passes. So thank you to the Stillaguamish Tribe of Indians for working with us on that. Congratulations. And thank you, everyone. We will now move into executive session. The estimated time or to discuss current and potential agency litigation with legal counsel, including travel negotiations, is expected to be about 1 hour. And we will resume our public meeting. We'll take a 10-minute break and then start executive session. So about 1 hour and 10 minutes. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. I'm going to go ahead and just call the roll one more time now that we're coming back from our executive session. It is 11:45, and so let's see, it's Vice Chair Sizemore here.
Here.
All right, Commissioner Lawson,
Here.
Commissioner Ibsen,
Here.
Commissioner Charles,
Here.
Senator Conway, Senator Holy, Representative Koba, and Representative Roberts. All right, well, we have a quorum, so we will continue on with tab 2, with the consent agenda, the September 12th commission meeting minutes, the new licenses and class 3 gaming employees, the house bank card room list, and the proposed 2025 commission meeting schedule. Let's see, did everybody get a chance to look at the meeting schedule?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
All right, any second? I guess we need to.
This is Commissioner Lawson. I'll second.
All right, is there any further discussion? All right. Yeah, was there any public comment? That's the next. Not seeing any. All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right.
All right, that passes. So next, we are moving into our rulemaking Administrative Procedure Act proceedings, starting with tab 6, the minimum cash on hand rule with Adam Amarine, our interim legal manager and rules coordinator. Good morning, Adam.
Good morning. For the record, my name is Adam Amarine. I am the acting legal and records manager. Turning our attention to the minimum cash on hand rule package. This is a package that commissioners initiated rulemaking in March of this year to evaluate our rules after stakeholders expressed concerns regarding the amount of cash they were required to have on the premises. Currently, the formula for determining that is $1,000 for each house bank table on the gaming floor, plus the amount of the largest single prize available. Staff has found that the formula to calculate sufficient cash on hand to redeem all chips issued for play and to pay out all prizes may not be adequate for all house bank card game licensees. And so these new rules would address some of those concerns. The proposed rules would require card game licensees to exchange chips for cash unless the player requests payment by check. It changes the formula for determining the minimum amount of cash on hand to be required in the cage, safe, and or vaults for house banked card rooms. It allows for specific prizes to be paid by check, and it would require house bank card room licensees to have sufficient funds to pay fixed based prizes offered. At the last commission meeting in September, commissioners discussed the proposed rules and elected to explore additional revisions to the proposed rule language. Specifically, commissioners sought to make changes that would require card rooms to pay larger prizes by check at the request of the player. So turning our attention to the rule language, if we look at WAC 230-15050, Section 1 now reads, card game licensees must have sufficient cash on hand to redeem all chips issued for play. Licensees must exchange chips brought to the cashier's cage by players for cash. However, in the event a player requests a check instead of cash for gambling winnings over $5,000, licensees must issue the player a check within 24 hours. Since the last commission meeting, we have received public comment via email from an individual who wished to remain anonymous. Among their concerns was regarding the allowing for a 24-hour delay for issuing checks to the players. They cited possible erosion of trust and player confidence and an unfair financial burden on players and possible financial manipulation for reasoning behind their concerns. They supplied an additional follow-up email yesterday, which has been forwarded to commissioners, and outlining similar concerns with the 24-hour delay in issuing checks. Additionally, I wanted to make clear that these rules would not change our rules requiring licensees to have the funds available, but rather those funds, instead of being on premises, would be allowed to be in a bank account that they could write checks off of. Our regulation and licensing staff would still have the ability to audit these accounts, as they do so at least on a yearly basis, and are able to do so more frequently if necessary. Staff is recommending filing the attached language for further discussion. This would result in a new CR 102 being filed with the Office of the Code Reviser. Alternatively, commissioners may discuss the matter further, withdraw the petition, or take any other number of actions.
Thank you, Adam. Do any commissioners have any questions for Adam? Commissioner Ibsen?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate your attention to the need for auditing. That was one of my earlier questions about this. You had mentioned that the default would be an annual basis for just checking the bank accounts of these businesses. You mentioned that there might be some instances where there might be more frequent inspections of the numbers. Can you tell me roughly what factors might determine a greater frequency?
I can tell you that currently our regulation staff does an annual inspection, as well as our licensing staff. They do an annual inspection additionally, and those are not often at the same time. So usually we're looking at least at twice a year. I don't know the factors that would play into additional inspections, but I do know that we have the ability to ask for financial statements or to be able to review their bank accounts when our agents see the need.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ibsen, if we find violations, that would certainly indicate we'll want to make sure that we do more frequent inspections to make sure that after education, then we do try to make sure that there's more frequency to ensure that there is compliance. So that would be an example.
So what you're saying is that there is not so much a written example of this in the code, but there is an internal policy where evidence of past wrongdoing or just mistakes there's some systematic process for maybe having a little bit greater frequency to ensure that they do keep their nose clean moving forward.
Right. We're always seeking for voluntary compliance. And so, yes, we do, especially with this, this is certainly something that is of big significance to make sure that licensees have the funds available for payment. And so this does definitely go to the mission. And yes, we do not have specific guidelines as to how frequent, but at a minimum, it's once to twice a year. But certainly, circumstances will dictate an additional frequency of inspection.
Very good. Thank you, Director.
Any other questions from any commissioners? You're not seeing, is there any public comments? No? All right, any further discussion from any of the commissioners? Okay, do we have a motion?
Chair, I'll move to file the recommended language for minimum cash on hand rules for further discussion as presented by staff.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
This is Commissioner Lawson. I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, motion passes. Next, we'll move to tab 7, which is the petition to initiate rulemaking additional safeguards to self-exclusion with Tricia Stillaguamish. Sorry. Heard you say it a couple times. What's that?
Good morning, Tricia Gullion here, Legislative and Rules Manager. Last week, we received a petition to initiate rulemaking regarding safeguards to the self-exclusion process. Specifically, the petitioner is asking for us to require a staff member to be present when they are filling out the self-exclusion form and to assist them in the process, to add an additional layer of awareness to what they are agreeing to. In your packet, there is a copy of the form so that you can take a look and see what requirements are currently in place. One of the fields that an individual must acknowledge is that if they do agree to this, they can no longer step foot in a housemaid card room or a participating tribal facility. Additionally, I do not believe the petitioner is present online. So if they are, they're more than happy to speak. But moving forward, we have two options. We can initiate the rulemaking process or we can deny the petitioner's request.
Thank you. Are there any questions from any commissioners? Not seeing any. All right. Is there any public comment? Or is the petitioner here? No? Okay. Do we have a motion? What? Oh, I'm sorry, Representative Kloba.
Thank you. Not a motion. I'm just a little slow on the raise hand button. I just wanted to, as you know, this is an area that's very important to me and a topic that's dear to my heart. And I know that best practices we're already following best practices with the way that we have set up the program. There are more than 10 different opportunities where a person has to read and sign, and it lays out in very simple language what exactly the person is getting themselves into. And so while I do have sympathy for the petitioner, perhaps having misunderstood that or didn't read clearly or what have you, I don't think it would be my opinion that this is not a rule change that is necessary at this time for what that's worth. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there a motion?
I move to deny the request on grounds that the current form is sufficient. Like second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, motion passes. Thank you. And now I go to the director's reports, which skipped over earlier under tab 2 on accident. I'm all down there.
Just a few things to bring to everyone's attention. Staff and Chair Levy did attend the 35th Annual Centennial Accord hosted by the Stillaguamish Tribe, which was a very nice gathering on September 20th. The agency's highlights that were published in the Centennial Accord document are in the packet of materials. And then I'll hold over talking about staff because we plan to recognize long-term staff at our January meeting. And so I'll go into more detail about staff's years of service next month. Exciting news. We signed a contract with for an implementer on the Polaris project. So MERP is our implementer. They came out and spent 4 days with us in Lacey, and they brought just a small portion of their team to launch this new process that we've been working so diligently on. And it, they did a great deal of homework before they came. I don't know what the numbers are. I know there's hundreds of business processes that our consultants that have been working with us from SimpleSoft this last year and a half, as well as our staff, have spent developing user stories, hundreds of user stories and business processes. And so they had read most, if not all of those in advance, and really were able to dive a little bit deeper so they can really make sure they understand what the scope of the project is. We've also, staff, I really am thankful for the staff and their ingenuity and really focusing on best practices moving forward with this contracting process, because as the contract is written, we hear of many contracts for IT services in which, once you sign the contract, you're in it and you can't really get out of it unless bad circumstances happen. And I know that will not happen with us, but how they have written this contract is that with each stage, there is a scope of work, defined scope of work that must be met with those deliverables before moving to the next phase. And so it makes it easier, should something happen, for us to extract ourselves from this contract. But again, I don't foresee that happening, but very thankful for staff's work in developing and being very thoughtful with, as a self-sustaining agency, the limited funds and time that we have available, and really making sure that we get this right. So yes, we've launched with MERP. We're in deep discovery with them. That's what they call this first scope of work. The first scope of work is staff are spending a great deal of time, 3 days a week, 4 hours a day, 3 days a week with them to make sure they truly understand what is needed in those user stories and those business processes that we've worked on, which is good news, right? You rather them truly understand before they start developing. And this will give us an idea, then they'll set the stage. This will set the stage for the actual development, which is the next phase. And we're using an agile approach. Please don't make me go into more detail about what that means, but we are, the end story is we're going to need help with external users because we are replacing our external facing My Account. And so we will need licensee and tribal partner engagement to help us with the testing before launch, right? And launch is expected. We'll find out more in mid-January once we're done with deep discovery. But MERP seems pretty confident that we can launch the licensing case reporting system and billing systems for the most part by the end of this next year, by 2025. So more to come on that. And we have also decided on a product, which would be Dynamics 365. So we're just thrilled that we continue to move forward and within the cost and time constraints that we have set forth. Two more things: House Bank Cardroom financial statement summary for 2023. A copy is in your packet, but it is also posted and available online. And then lastly, another important topic, double filling for the deputy director position. We have hired the recruitment company. We have completed our first round of interviews last week. Some candidates have been requested and asked to come back into the next stage of that process, which will happen next week. And so we will just continue to keep that recruitment open as we go through these various stages of the process, but we'll keep that recruitment open until we have hired someone, which we are hopeful will occur by the first of the year. That is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we will go into tab 3, which is the budget update. Crescenda Hansen.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Crescenda Hansen and I'm the CFO at the Gambling Commission. Today, I just want to give you a very brief budget update that's about the closeout of fiscal year 24 and just what we've seen in the first quarter of fiscal year 25. Next slide, please. Thank you. So fiscal year 24 ended June 30 of 24, and we have about 8 to 10 weeks to close everything for that fiscal year. So it takes a little bit to get all that done and then run all the numbers and provide this update. So for our revenue in fiscal year 24, I had originally forecasted 17.8 million in revenue. And if you recall from any of our my other updates that I've provided, that forecast was based on my understanding at the time that when we made a rule change to adjust the rates, that it would be implemented all at once. And because that was not the case and the rates were implemented as licenses renewed on a quarterly basis, it created an ongoing variance throughout the year. And so this is the $1.5 million variance that you see here is the end result of that rule being implemented over time rather than all at once. So we ended the fiscal year 24 with 16.3 million in revenue. Next slide, please. So our expenditures for the fiscal year originally allotted at 19.8 million. That allotment, we have to, when I submit our official allotments to OFM, we have to allot that as fully staffed for the entire year, fully expended. So our actual expenditures were 16.2, almost 16.3 million. The variance that you see there is a combination of factors, including staffing. We've talked a lot about the 10%. The 10% vacancy rate that we see, you know, it's pretty standard to have 8 to 10%, and that's just the time that it takes to fill positions when people leave. You don't generally get a 1-for-1 on that. And then some of it also you'll see is in contracting. The variance that we see here in contracting is largely because we took a step back on our approach to our IT modernization project. We took a lot more time to really analyze and define what our needs were before engaging with a contractor and deciding what our solution would be. And so why that is impactful to our fiscal year 24 expenditures is because when we originally budgeted the IT modernization project, we assumed that we would have purchased a software solution by the end of the fiscal year, as well as engaged multiple contractors in that project. Those funds still will be obligated. It's just that we slowed down the process a little bit to make sure that we were getting it right the first time as we move through each phase of this project. And then some of our equipment variance is because we continue to see supply chain issues with replacing vehicles. We are in a replacement cycle for several of our vehicles. However, there is no vehicle inventory to be had on statewide contract right now. So we continue to check and order as soon as we see anything come available, so that those funds will also be used just later than originally anticipated. Next slide, please. So for the current fiscal year that started in July, our revenue was forecast at 4.37 million. It came in at 4.34 million. So, and that is largely, that's the result of the fee changes. But as well, when looking at the trends that we had seen with gross gambling receipts, I adjusted our forecast to have a more conservative growth in gambling receipts, because historically, prior to COVID, the numbers increased about 3% year over year, but we saw that slow down significantly. So part of this adjustment to our revenue forecast is more conservative growth in the gross gambling receipts. So then for our expenditures, again, fully allotted as required by OFM, we'd be at 5.38 million. Our actuals are at about 4 million. That variance, again, about half of it is because of the change in timing for our IT modernization project. And then just, again, other items such as, the equipment issues and the difference between being allotted at fully staffed versus our vacancy rate. So. Next slide. So that's the end of my very brief budget presentation, but I did want to share that as part of our ongoing analysis of the fees and hoping to prevent another, across the board adjustment that is very impactful, we've committed to reviewing the rates for, different license types as we go along. So I'm working on right now evaluating 6 different license types. 2 of those are the newer gambling activities, so the electronic raffle and the sports wagering. Vendor fees, we're evaluating the current fees that are paid for those 2 activities versus our level of effort in those areas. So more to come on that. And then additionally, I selected to evaluate house bank card room rates and fees, manufacturers, distributors, and then commercial punch board pull tab. So there will be information shared at a future Gambling Commission meeting in January. And if needed or necessary, we would have maybe request to initiate rulemaking to make adjustments if that's what we find when we get done evaluating. So any questions?
Thank you. Are there any questions from any commissioners? Look like it. Okay, thank you. Next, we will go into tab 4, which is a presentation of the Seattle Junior Hockey Association program with Angela Deckert, Special Agent. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon, commissioners and ex officios. Thank you for having me. I'm Special Agent Angela Deckert. I work in the Regulation Enforcement Unit, and I'm here to present our program review results for Seattle Junior Hockey Association located in Mount Lake Terrace. One of the reasons we conduct these reviews is in accordance to WAC 230.07.080, in which we periodically review charitable nonprofit licensees that conduct over a certain combined annual gross receipt. Usually those reviews begin at the annual gross receipts of $3 million. So Seattle Junior Hockey has 3 licenses with us. They are a nonprofit punch board and pull tab licensee, raffle, and bingo. They were incorporated in the state of Washington as a nonprofit organization in 1974. Their mission is to create transformational experiences for all players, coaches, and families through the game of hockey. Services provided by Seattle Junior Hockey include multiple youth hockey programs like beginner hockey, late start, girls hockey, recreational hockey, and representative hockey teams that travel throughout the U.S. and Canada. During my review, in which Agent Danny Lisa and Kim Burton also assisted me with, we reviewed multiple documents, services on site, and just took numerous steps to ensure that they were functioning in accordance to their bylaws and continue to meet the definition of a charitable or nonprofit organization under the RCW. I interviewed several board members and employees. Some of the documents that we reviewed were board meeting minutes, program services, financial statements, internal controls, and payroll for reasonable wages, the use of funds, and assets and contracts for reasonableness. We verified their programs exist and are being supported. We found no material discrepancies during our review, and we determined that Seattle Junior Hockey Association is suitable for continued licensure. I know President Michael Murphy and Gambling Manager Eric Heckenkamp are also in attendance. I would turn it over to them for any questions.
Thank you.
We are in attendance along with Melissa, another bingo manager. We don't have any questions.
All right, thank you. Do any of the commissioners have any questions or comments? Anybody here? All right, well, we appreciate your joining us this morning and glad to hear about the positive findings from the agent. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Angela.
Right, next we will go into tab 5, which is a presentation on anti-money laundering with Bill McGregor and Jess Bruce.
Good afternoon, commissioners and ex officios. For the record, I am Jess Losey. I'm a special agent supervisor in the Regulation Enforcement Unit. And today I'm going to be giving a brief presentation on anti-money laundering. Next slide, please. That'd be appropriate to begin with a little bit of history and terminology related to anti-money laundering. So to start, in 1970, Congress passed the Bank Secrecy Act, also known as the BSA. It involved the first laws to fight money laundering in the United States. It requires businesses and card rooms, casinos to keep records and file specific reports, which I'll discuss later in this presentation, that are determined to have a high degree of usefulness in criminal, tax, and regulatory matters. These filings by businesses are used heavily by law enforcement agencies to detect, deter money laundering related to unlawful activity. Next slide, please. So the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, also referred to as FinCEN, is a bureau of the U.S. Department of the Treasury. FinCEN's mission is to safeguard the financial system from illicit use and combat money laundering and promote national security through collection, analysis, and dissemination of financial intelligence. Next slide, please. Title 31 is the codified regulation for the Bank Secrecy Act that gives FinCEN the authority to implement, administer, and enforce compliance with BSA regulations. And this is what card rooms and casinos fall under, this regulation. So next slide, please. So getting into a little bit of anti-money laundering in Title 31. So Title 31 applies to casinos and card rooms with any gross revenue or gross receipts greater than $1 million in a year, and it designates them as a financial institution. And there's certain reporting requirements that card rooms and casinos have. Two of them listed here are the currency transaction reports and suspicious activity reports. Currency transaction reports, often referred to as CTRs, involve transactions of cash in or cash out greater than $10,000. And I'll go into a little more detail on that in another slide. Suspicious activity reports, also referred to as SARs, involve suspicious transactions greater than $5,000. And in a slide coming up, I'll go into what card rooms look for with regards to suspicious activity. Title 31 requires card rooms and casinos to know their customers. They do this by a number of different means, but it involves them determining players' names, date of birth, social security numbers, addresses, and Title 31 requires card rooms to develop and implement a written anti-money laundering program. Next slide, please. So with regards to the anti-money laundering program, at a minimum, card rooms are required to have internal controls designed to prevent money laundering and ensure compliance with the Bank Secrecy Act. They're required to train card room personnel. So this would involve card room personnel being familiar with what type of transactions would be suspicious that might generate a SAR, for example, what kind of transactions might generate a CTR that they can relay to other personnel that would file these reports. The program requires the card room to designate an anti-money laundering officer, also referred to as an AMLO, and that particular person, typically with card rooms, is the one that would file CTRs and SARs with FinCEN. The program requires procedures for using all available information to determine the name, address, social security number, and other information of a person, that know your customer information I talked about before, and it requires to provide an inclusion of an automated program to aid in the assurance of the compliance. Next slide, please. So currency transaction reports. So like I discussed before, this is a form that card rooms must complete and send to FinCEN. It involves cash in or cash out transactions of $10,000 or more. It can be in a single transaction or it can be aggregated, and it's on or behalf of any particular person. And with CTRs in particular, card rooms have 15 calendar days to submit that form to FinCEN. Next slide, please. Suspicious activity reports, like I noted before, involves transactions of $5,000 or more. It will involve a possible violation of any law or regulation. It can be one transaction or it can be aggregated to that 5,000 or more figure. And as far as reporting timelines, card rooms have 30 calendar days to report suspicious activity reports to FinCEN. Next slide, please. So SARs are required to be completed when the card room knows, suspects, or has reason to suspect the following. So activity involving funds from illegal activity. Example of this could just simply be card room staff overhearing a player that's bringing in cash into the card room that it was derived from illegal activity, let's say drug sales. Activity designed to hide assets from derived illegal activities. Activity to evade Bank Secrecy Act requirements. An example would be structuring. What structuring typically is say you have one player that has $30,000 in chips, and they know that a CTR would be filed on them if they cashed out anything over than 10,000. So instead of going to the cage and cashing out 30,000, they break their transactions into smaller transactions, like $9,000 at different points in time. Other reasons for SARs, if there's no business or apparent lawful purpose for the transaction, or if a player or players are engaged in activity simply involving the use of the casino to facilitate a criminal activity. Next slide, please. So here's some examples that are typical in card rooms that might be related, potential money laundering, but also reasons why a card room may complete a SAR on a player or players. So if a player came into the card room with a number of small bills, say 5, 10s, and 20s, and then they requested $100 bills in exchange. So that would be an example where a card room may complete a SAR. Regularly conducting currency transactions just below 10,000. So that relates sort of to that structuring example I gave before. Purchasing chips and then gambling very little and then cashing out. So this is something agents see sometimes on video when they are in card rooms where a player will come in with a large amount of cash, buying $20,000, and then they're placing maybe $5 bets, a couple hands, and then they want to go out to the cage and cash out. That would be something a card room would do a suspicious activity report for. Using other patrons to cash out chips, supplying other patrons with cash to purchase chips, using IDs that appear to be forged or altered, or using the card room purely for its financial services. So just to add on to this, because we're ending to the question phase, the Regulation Enforcement Unit and then the agency as a whole does have a compliance program where we do inspections within card rooms to verify various aspects related to FinCEN. So agents are looking at CTRs, they're looking at SARs, verifying card rooms are appropriately filing those on players. So next slide, please. That concludes the presentation. Thank you for your time. I'm here if you have any questions for me.
Great, thank you. That's a lot of helpful information. Do any of the commissioners have any questions? All right, well, we appreciate that. Thank you very much. And so now that brings us to the end of our meeting. So I'll see if there's any public comment on anything that we went over today. Anything on there?
Chair, I just want to bring to your attention that there is public comment, written comment in the packet that was received. This was just an update to what was submitted just prior to the September meeting, but shortly after the September meeting, the person that submitted the information updated it. So it is in your packet.
Thank you. All right. And that takes care of the agenda for today. It is 12:25 p.m. Our next meeting will be January 9th and 10th, 2025 at the Washington State Gambling Commission. And we are adjourned.
Correction, it's at the Liquor Control Board.
Oh, it does say the Liquor and Cannabis Board. Sorry about that. Next meeting at the Liquor and Cannabis Board. Yes, right where we are. All right. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.